Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
And here we are. Welcome, everybody. It's the ultimate Cleveland sports show. Jason's back. Mike, we're stuck with you again today.
Yep. Can't get rid of me that easy.
What's going on, Jason? Anything exciting happening? Drinking tainted water.
I'm drinking tainted water.
They're trying to poison us here at WKYC. Now, apparently,
I took the label off.
Okay, let me tell you something here at WKYC. I think I'm too loud because we're in a basement studio, for those who don't know. The main studios are upstairs. There's often complaints that I'm too loud. That's not really true, but I am very loud.
When we shot the promo.
There was one when we shot the promo. You see, here's our basement studio. It looks great. Everybody always thinks it's smaller. Everything on TV looks bigger than it is in reality.
Right.
I remember going to the David Letterman show. You guys ever been to one of those talk shows or anything?
I've been a Fallon.
Right. Like when you see it, you're like, wow, this is tiny. And it always looks much bigger on TV.
Yeah, you guys might find this hard to believe, but I thought I left something here. And we were downtown. My wife and I were downtown at the show, and I said I got to run by the studio just to check and make sure. I think I was leaving the next day on one of these 17 trips I've been on. And so I said, you can come in and look at it if you want. She looked around. She goes, wow, it's small.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody
it always looks bigger on TV, even us. So we look big. You know, I'm not really this fat. I'm much skinnier in real life.
Bull's only 148 pounds.
Yeah, I'm nothing. But here's the thing. By the way, that sidebar is to the fact that Jason is the person in Cleveland, of every person in Northeast Ohio, most likely to leave something in the wrong place. He's been voted that.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Multiple times of the same item. But anyway, I what the hell was I talking about?
The tainted water.
Oh, the tainted water. Yeah. So, yes, every day before the show, we get water set up. I always drink 2 bottles of water. You see the bottles of water. And hide the label, though. But all of a sudden, yesterday, I opened the water. It tastes gross. I'm like, it's bottled water. How does it taste gross? So today, of course, I brought my own water.
And as soon as Bull walked in, I took a sip of this, and he said the water tasted funny. I'm like, oh, man, it does.
It does.
There's like roofies in here, so if I fall over and hit my head.
Yeah, so I think they're trying to kill us.
I'm suing
That
someone.
might be happening, you know, but hopefully we'll survive at least today, and maybe we'll be around tomorrow. I don't know. A lot to get to today.
Yep.
We got to get to the Guardians, a game that was people. Yesterday there were a bunch of idiots complaining the games are too fast, which is ridiculous.
3 hours and 19 minutes.
Yeah.
They went to extra innings. There was 23 runs.
Right.
Absurd.
By the way, last year that game would have been almost 4 hours.
It would
More-
still be
more,
going.
It'd be,
Right.
closer to 5
and people
than 4.
idiotically complaining the games are shorter, even though only thing being cut out is downtime. But anyway, we'll get to that great game in a little bit. The Cavs, 3 games left in the regular season. Thankfully, the regular season ends on Sunday. The great Brian Windhorst tells all about Jason, Joe Varden, and Dave McMenamin. He will reveal all their dirty secrets. No, he won't. But that would be a great book.
It would be.
But it won't be happening anytime soon. But Brian will join us today. And, of course, we'll get to the Browns in a moment. Anything else you want to share with us, Mike, before we get on to the Browns?
We're going to talk just at the very end real quick about the national championship.
Of course.
I just want to say one thing right now.
Yes, please.
We talked yesterday about my abysmal high school basketball team. Right?
We did? I don't
yeah,
remember
real
that
quick. I mean, I told you I was at the smallest public high school in New Jersey.
Oh, yes, right, correct. Okay, now I remember.
The only championship in basketball I've ever won in my entire life was the 2009 UConn summer camp basketball championship. So I am taking claim in UConn's national championship last night as part of my own. I didn't go to UConn. I don't know anyone that went to UConn.
Okay.
But you went to a camp.
I went to camp. I won 2 3-point shootouts at the Jim Calhoun camp. I was a 2009 Defensive Player of the Week at Jim Calhoun basketball
I can't
camp.
believe you didn't offer
Dead or
me the
alive,
spot.
Jim Calhoun.
He's alive.
He's alive.
He's alive.
That's correct.
Real quick about winning Defensive Player of the Year at that camp, though. That was Shabazz Napier's summer going into his freshman year. So when they get the award, like, hey, you can play Shabazz to 3 real quick one-on-one. There's a difference in being, like, D1 good and being, like,
What was the final score?
Oh, I didn't touch the ball. He scored 3 straight. I couldn't even remotely stay.
3. Okay.
Absolutely annihilate me. And there's nothing worse than winning Defensive Player of the Week and being like, hey, you can't even remotely stay in front of this guy. So
There's nothing in the world worse
UConn
than
championship,
that.
I'm taking it, putting it on my back.
Very good. Jason, do you have a
taking some
Shabazz
credit.
Napier story that you want to share?
I don't, but did they show Calhoun at the game? Because I wondered that if he was in good health. That game was so hard to watch.
It's terrible. It was a terrible
I
game.
had it on the top TV, but I was really watching the Guardians last night. But I was waiting to see if they'd show him, and they never showed him that I saw. I don't know.
They
if
showed
he's in-
San Diego State coach's dad a few times. He looked great for however old he was.
Yeah.
Because their coach is 63. He's
I cannot tell a lie. I didn't watch a single second of the game.
He missed nothing.
It was awful.
I spent 12 hours watching straight baseball last night from the Cubs game immediately into the Guardians game, and I didn't watch it.
You didn't miss much.
It was a blowout, so I didn't. Speaking of which, let's get to that, Earl.
Let's do it, man.
Yeah.
Bulls Better Today is brought to you by Bet Rivers. Hey, Ohio, Bet Rivers Online Sportsbook is the place to be for every single game. Now is the perfect time to join Bet Rivers Sportsbook. When you use deposit code SPORTS, you'll receive a second chance bet up to $500. Get in on all the action with weekly specials on your favorite sports like basketball and hockey to help you win big. Check out BetRivers.com or download the Bet Rivers app today for the latest lines, odds, and boost. Bull, what you got for me?
All right, well, I lost 2 in a row. I think I'm, 11-13, Mike? I don't know.
You're 2 under 500.
2 under 500, so I should learn my lesson for staying away from college basketball. I'm betting on the Guardians tonight on the run line.
Taking it with you there.
I listen, could credit the A's. They scored a ton of runs, but the Indians pitching stunk. And as much as I'm down on Zach Pleasac, I'm not going to say it's over. It's one start. You got to be realistic about everything. I had no faith into him coming in, and he paid that off yesterday by being pretty much as awful as you could possibly be. But tonight you got Shane Bieber. Shane Bieber almost never pitches poorly. He's facing a lineup that, despite yesterday, is not very good. So I expect the Guardians. It's about even money on the 1.5.
Who's pitching for Oakland? You know,
It doesn't really.
It doesn't matter. It's no one I've heard of.
JP Sears. All they have is number 5 starters on that team. So
also, I love Anthony putting -1.5 runs on the graphic.
Yeah.
Anthony, we got to teach you betting lingo. Just -1.5. You don't need the runs.
Oh, well, I mean, that's okay, though. It is runs.
No one in the history of American sports betting would say it like that. Jason's laughing because he knows. But
it is runs. So I'm not.
It is runs.
I'm the first one to bust Anthony's balls about these things. I think that's an unworthy ball bust.
No, he's learning. There. He's learning.
At
least he spelled it right.
Yeah. He put runs because in my text to him, I wrote runs. So I'm okay with that, Anthony. That's an unfair.
And I'm riding with you, by the way. My A's bet lost yesterday. Class A killed me. And we'll talk about that in a sec. But I'm rocking with you. I have also not just the run line. I parlayed it with the A's under runs at 2.5.
Okay. Yeah, I like that too.
I got 3-1 odds on that.
All right. So there you go. Hopefully we'll get back on track with that today. And check out the episode of The Bull in Cleveland, which I put out yesterday afternoon, and another podcast tomorrow. Earl, do you have something else you want to do before we get to the Browns?
I'm enjoying your podcast, man.
I appreciate that.
The television show podcast is
not my sports podcast, but my
sports podcast. Yeah, I mean, of course. But yeah, I like the television podcast.
I hope everybody listen to my television podcast as part of Press Play Pods. My son will be on every week. I'll have my first guest. All my guests on the show, and eventually I'll have some of you guys on. But all my guests are going to be people. I don't care if they're famous or not. It's people that know TV and are good talking TV, so we can have good television conversations. All right. Thank you, Earl. I appreciate that. Let's switch gears to the Browns here, guys.
Yes.
Free agency is pretty much over. Obviously, there's a few significant names out there. One guy on the Browns' radar apparently is Al Woods, veteran defensive tackle who's played for the Seahawks.
Played for a bunch of teams.
He's played for a bunch of teams, but most recently for the Seahawks.
Yes.
So let's talk about this guy. Listen. We're not trying to fool you here. This is not a massive story. No. Al Woods at this point in his career is not a game changer. But what do you think about Al Woods there? Mikey, start us off.
It's not a massive story, but he's a massive guy who could plug a big hole in the middle for the Browns. Just based on pure stature, Woods is listed generously at 6'4", 330.
Yeah, he's more than 330.
Generously listed at 330. Yeah. If you put him and Tomlinson in the middle together, that is 650 to 700 pounds of beef up front.
Yeah.
I know where your mind's at.
Yeah.
Beef up front to help clog the interior gaps, which was obliterated last year by the teams running the ball. And the way I look at this is if they do go out and sign a guy like Woods, he's being brought in as a 2-down player. First and second down against the run, you have Woods next to Tomlinson. And then you bring in a guy like Mo Hurst or Tristan Hill, two of the guys that took flyers on who, at least based on historical production, have been much more effective against the pass than the run. For his career, Woods has like 10 career sacks in 12 seasons. Like, he's not a guy that you expect to get to the quarterback, but he is good against the run. The PFF grades back that up. And him alongside a Hurst or a Tristan Hill or a Winfrey, in theory, could be a nice combo at that second defensive tackle position.
Yeah, I don't think he's washed. Like, he's a veteran, but I don't think he's washed by anything. And it's not going to cost him a ton of money if they do sign him. I think he was due like 4.5 this year. I think somewhere around
it's
that.
4.35.
Yeah, right now. Yeah. So it's not going to cost him a ton of money. They do still have a little bit left under the cap to wiggle with. He missed the 2020 season, sat out for COVID, so that is 1 year of wear and tear off his body. I think he was suspended for a few games in 2019 for performance enhancing. But Seattle switched from a 4-3 to a 3-4 last year for whatever that's worth. I know a lot of people dismiss that because everyone plays such hybrid defenses anymore. But obviously he's more comfortable in the 4-3. I think it would be great. And we talked about it before. You just need to have multiple bodies to roll in, and the Browns haven't had that across the defensive line. So if you can get these guys coming in waves to where they're not having to play, as Mikey was saying, if you don't have to play all 3 downs, that's not a bad thing. That can only be a good thing. So yeah, I mean, I think it'd be great if they could get him. There is competition for him. The Jets, I think, are interested in him.
He visited the Cowboys, too.
Yeah, and the Seahawks GM, who wears flip-flops to nice dinners,
John Schneider,
said that it was a cap casualty. It wasn't, they'd love to have him back.
Right.
So maybe there's a way Seattle does try and bring him back.
Well,
so there's interest in him.
Yeah.
This isn't a throwaway at the end of his career.
No, but he's a guy that you can get, as you said, very cheaply, right? He's not going to cost too much money.
No.
And the thing is, guys, we saw last year that at defensive tackle, the Browns, every player that played defensive tackle for the Browns was a negative player.
Yes.
Right? He was a bottom-of-the-barrel player. We've talked about this a lot. When the good teams, the best teams in the NFL, the Eagles, the Bengals, the Chiefs, the Bills, like these the Niners, it's not like they have it's not like those teams have that many more, or even any more, period, superstars than the Browns. The difference between those teams and the Browns and some other teams is those teams have really good second-tier players.
Yep.
A lot of them, third-tier players. The Browns are light on second- and third-tier players. That's the difference. Not everybody you bring in, especially this year. First of all, most superstars don't hit free agency. Right. Even guys who are borderline Tier 1, Tier 2 players. Most of
even
those
like Jesse Bates, those guys rarely actually hit the open market.
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of times when they do, they're past their prime anyway. So it's guys like this that are contributors, solid players that you need, because that's what the Browns didn't have. Yeah. So you've already signed 3 defensive tackles that were veterans, including Tomlinson, who's the premier addition they made there. So adding a 4th guy, you want that's another thing. The good teams have good depth where you can use not just your 5th guy, but your 6th, your 7th, even an 8th guy that can rotate in. Because no matter how good you are on the defensive line, if you could take, like, as great as Myles Garrett is even, I'd rather him play, 90% of snaps instead of 95, know? Any few plays you can find to take him off, because I have somebody else that could throw in there for a couple of plays is going to help him down the stretch of the game or in key moments. So I think having extra bodies, even if they're just good, solid players like Al Woods, it makes a lot of sense, rather than another rookie or a guy who was a rookie last year who was a negative player.
And you talk about Woods and having guys that just are guys, and you need guys that are just guys. And one thing Woods does maybe better than almost any defensive tackle in the league is he is exactly, what you're getting exactly from Woods. He's played at least 12 games in 10 straight seasons outside the COVID season. Yeah. At least 12. From a defensive tackle, those guys don't always stay healthy. It's easy to get your ankle rolled up on, your knee caught, twisted, whatever. He's played at least 12 games in 10 straight years. So that could change, obviously. I don't want to knock on wood, jinx this dude, but I'm not pulling a G. Bush wishing for an injury by any means. But if you sign a guy like Al Woods, at least based on his track record, he's going to be there for 75% of the season, and he's played 12 NFL seasons. 11 of those seasons, he's had at least a 61 PFF grade against the run. You look at the 3 defensive tackles they rotated in last year, Taven Bryan, Perrion Winfrey, and Togiai, and Jordan Elliott. 117, 125, 129, 130. So it's a massive upgrade by that metric alone. Now, PFF's not everything. No. But you get consistency in a guy that has performed better for a prolonged period of time than anyone you're rolling the dice on.
And I would just add, also, we've talked before about they've been really good on these one-year signings, finding guys on the margins. Yeah, right. They've really excelled at that. And this feels like, again, it's not done yet, but it feels like if they can get that done, that feels like another one of those. And another thing real quick, we didn't really talk about it before the show. Did you guys see Robert Woods is out?
We're gonna mention that in a sec,
Even Michael Woods.
Michael Woods.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Robert Woods.
Also injury-prone receiver,
who got overpaid in free agency.
He got a lot of money by the Texans, right?
Yeah, I think it was the Texans, which makes no sense because they stink.
Yeah, $15 million.
Yeah, Michael Woods. That's the other story with the Browns this morning. Michael Woods. Josina Anderson reported it first. I believe he's got. I think Mary Kay has confirmed.
Mary Kay confirmed torn Achilles.
He's got torn ACL. Torn Achilles.
Which is even worse.
I feel for you, my man. I've had the torn Achilles. It's awful. You're in better shape than me, but it's still a long road back for torn Achilles. He's done for the season. He's not going to play this year. I don't know that Michael Woods was making the roster anyway, was he?
I'll let Jason start with that.
I think he was. Yeah, I think he was probably. Well, yeah.
Well, I mean, think about it.
He was a bubble guy.
He's a bubble guy.
You have obviously Cooper, obviously Elijah Moore, Donovan Peoples-Jones. What's his name?
You think Marquise Goodwin.
Marquise Goodwin.
Yeah. You think he'd be.
I assume Jakeem Grant is on the team.
And David Bell.
And David Bell, they're not going to cut after 1 year. That's 6. At most, you got 1. Maybe if there's another better return guy, maybe Jakeem Grant's not a short thing. We have 5 short things. I'm assuming Jakeem Grant is 6.
You forgot Anthony Schwartz.
I am assuming he's not on the team. I think it's obviously time to move on unless he has a magnificent camp, which obviously we'd all bet against. So at best, there's 1 available spot. So.
Yeah. And I'm not sure what Woods did last year on special teams, and I think Bubba Ventrone's going to have a big say in, hey, I really think this guy could excel in a special teams role. On the one hand, it's obviously terrible news for Michael Woods, and we wish him a speedy recovery, but it happened while working out with DeShaun Watson in Texas.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure who else was there. There was no other.
We hadn't had any reports about that, Jason. Did you hear anything about?
That they were going to, they were going to work out. We were talking about it at the NFL meetings that they had just completed them or they were just about ready to start.
Yeah.
Do you know where all the receivers going? Just out of pure curiosity.
I don't know that all of them were going, but I think a few of them were.
But the fact that Woods was there tells me at least, hey, Watson saw something within him that made him want to work with that. So I think that may not be the difference in making a roster or not.
Yeah.
But I do like the fact that they were trying to build chemistry in the offseason for a young receiver with a new quarterback. That may have led to something productive in the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, we all want to hear that DeShaun Watson is working out with his teammates in the offseason because he's got improvement to make.
He is. Even if he's not posting it, he's working out.
I don't care what he's posting or not. Jay was a little hung up on that. I wasn't really that hung up on that. Obviously, you want to know that he's working as long as he – I mean, I guess I'll give him benefit of the doubt that he's working hard this offseason. Listen, if he has any pride, which I think he does – he better work his ass off because he got humiliated last year. He everything that happened off the field, which he didn't happen to him. He did it, and now he's trying to play. Well, he comes back at the end of last year after sitting out for 2 years. He sucked, and everybody's taking pot shots at him. And the only way to get back at people, to make them pay for the things they've said, is to kick ass on the field. That's all he can do. So we'll see if he's capable of doing it. Not only this season, but the Browns' immediate future is completely tied to whether DeShaun Watson can get back to being that quarterback. There's no other way around it, guys.
No.
In this, in 30 years ago, if you put together a great defense, even 10 years ago maybe, in this AFC, in this NFL that is pass happy and crazy, the Browns will only go as far as DeShaun Watson takes them. It's really that simple.
And look at the landscape of the NFL. Outside of the 49ers, which is the one anomaly to this whole thing, and Brock Purdy may end up being very good. I'm just not ready to crown him after, 9 games. That roster is so talented outside of the quarterback spot that they can hide a subpar.
And they still haven't won, ultimately.
And they still haven't won.
They've won a championship.
If you don't have an elite quarterback, you're SOL. You're crap out of luck in today's NFL, and we think Watson is an elite quarterback.
And that's still the NFC, which is much weaker than
different.
the AFC.
Yeah, in the AFC, we talked about the quarterback. In the NFC, it's Jalen Hurts and then 5-6 guys who would be the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th quarterbacks in the AFC.
That's right. So, we'll see what the Browns do here.
This may be a topic for another day. I'm calling it slight audible, but I was thinking about it as we were talking about like Michael Woods, would he make the team or not? Browns don't have a pick to the 3rd round now. I think 2 3s, 2 4s, right?
2 3s, 2 4s, and 2 5s.
What position could even make the team at this point? Like what position?
Linebacker
and defensive end, I think, are the two that come to mind.
Me and Earl were talking about this yesterday. And Earl, if you want to chime in a sec, but I'd be shocked if the Browns pick at 74. We actually thought maybe on the air.
Yeah, I mean,
I think they're going to trade up.
They might
package some picks to get up and target a guy they really like. They can't draft 10 people.
I mean, listen.
Agreed.
There's always they could always move on from Harrison Bryant and then add a third tight end potentially. There's always some depth on the offensive line if you see a guy you like in the middle of the draft more than some of the guys you have on the team.
Without a first-round impact, like we could all circle linebacker and say, oh, if they had a first-round pick, linebacker is the obvious.
Right. Yeah.
But I just don't know what spots are even. Where is a mid-round rookie, even going to make an impact on this roster?
Well, but that's the thing, Jason. I was saying this yesterday. Like, obviously the Chiefs had a lot of rookies that made impact last year, but sometimes if you're a good enough team, you draft a guy thinking a year ahead and saying, hey, let me draft this guy because I'm going to move on from player B next
And that's
year.
what the mid-rounds are supposed to be. That's why you take an offensive guard or a right guard in the 5th round, hoping that he's going to replace Wyatt Teller in 2 years and Joel Bitonio in 2 years.
And
I'm just looking at this draft and this roster now going, boy, I don't know. Because, I mean, every Browns fan lives and dies with the draft and, because those guys play right away and make an impact.
To that point, tomorrow we have Joe Marino, an NFL draft expert, coming on to talk about that. And this morning I was making a mock draft graphic of 10 different mock drafts. Who are the Browns picking at 74? Which, first off, is impossible to tell this early.
Yes.
73 picks in advance. Who will be there for the Browns?
Yeah.
It was split between receivers, running backs, and safeties. Those were the 3 position groups that, of the 10 mock drafts we looked at, I think there was 1 defensive tackle in there, but there was 2 receivers, and I'll save who it is. You guys can look it up, but we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Yeah.
2 receivers, 2 safeties, 2 running backs.
With their ability, listen, with having 6 picks between rounds 3 and 5, it is entirely possible they could target somebody in the 2nd round and move up.
Absolutely.
Especially mid-2nd round and mid to late 2nd round, or even move up earlier in the 3rd round, whatever. But I do think wide receiver is a possibility because we don't know what Amari Cooper's long-term future is. He's getting up there in age. And, depending on what they've seen from these 2 young running backs they've drafted the last 2 years, maybe in the running backs get pushed down in the draft. There may be a running back they love.
There's running backs
especially
on that list.
because I know some people will hold their breath when I say this. Nick Chubb, I don't know how much, as great as he is, running backs tend to fall off the cliff in their late 20s, and a lot of times you don't see it coming.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it happens one year. So I don't think running back's impossible. The only position I could see the Browns drafting somebody and that guy starting is linebacker.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's a sure thing that they would start. I'm just saying I could see them drafting a linebacker without, besides injury, linebacker's the one position they could potentially
It's the weakest
trade
position
somebody.
on the team.
No
I think
doubt.
we can all
no
agree
doubt.
on that.
You don't have linebacker's the one position you could say is anybody should any of those players definitely be starters on a good team?
I'm going to tie this back to Al Woods real quick.
Yeah.
But in a hypothetical world, if the Browns do sign Al Woods, there is no excuses for these linebackers not to be able to find the running back against the run.
Right. Yeah.
Between Tomlinson, Al Woods, Myles Garrett, and Obo, that's a defensive line that, theoretically speaking, on paper with Jim Schwartz's tutelage, should be able to eat up offensive linemen, take on 2 blockers at once, and free up the linebackers to run around and make plays. And if they don't, then it's a complete rehaul. DeQuell would be right about JOK.
Right.
G would be right about Anthony Walker. Taki Top. It'd be a complete rehaul if these linebackers this year can't make plays.
By the way, whether they sign Al Woods or not, defensive tackle is another position they could target because Al Woods is a short-term thing.
1 year thing.
So is, what's his name when they signed for the Niners?
Hurst and Tristan Hill.
I mean, those guys are all flyers.
Yeah.
If the Browns see a player in the 2nd round, 3rd round, whatever, that they think they could trade up and get, I think it's possible if a guy's good enough, they could end up with a starter in the draft at defensive tackle. I think it's possible. Definitely linebackers possibility. Any other spot is unlikely to be a starter.
I do have a question for you, Jason, or both of you guys real quick. Let's say they do sign Woods. Just say they sign Woods. That gives you like 7 defensive tackles right now in the rotation. Tomlinson, he's a lock. Woods would be a lock if they sign him. Hurst, Hill, Elliott, Togiai, and Winfrey. There's no way they keep 7.
Togiai's gone.
Togiai's already.
No. You're not even defensive tackles. You're only keeping 4.
So I just named 7. Are the 3 Elliott, Togiai, Winfrey gone?
Well, no, Winfrey's not gone.
I think Perrion stays. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
so
not gone.
Maybe Hill, one of those.
Elliott
gone?
I don't think all those veteran guys are sure things.
No, but I'm just saying.
They're not making any guaranteed money. If they're not good in camp, they'll move on from those guys.
So I'm just saying right now, for just the sake
Who's
of
a
having
short
fun.
thing to be on the roster?
No, Tomlinson, if they sign Woods.
Thompson and Perrion, to me, are the only 2 guys that are short things to be on the roster at defensive tackle.
Well, if they sign Woods, he'd be.
Yeah, okay. If they sign Woods, you're right. He'd be 3. But Hurst, what is Hurst getting? Like $1 million? I mean, he's not a guarantee to be on the team.
So let's just for the sake of prediction.
Yeah.
For today.
Yeah.
More likely to be on the Browns.
Togiai's definitely
53.
gone. 100%.
He's gone.
Yeah.
Jordan Elliott or Mo Hurst on the Browns 53-man roster.
Probably Hurst. I don't know. It could be either.
Yeah, I think it's
camp battle.
Yeah,
Camp battle.
I was trying to get those words out. I think it's a camp battle.
There's not a lot of guaranteed money, or if any, on either of those guys.
Which is why I do think if they are able to sign a guy like Woods, it gives you the ability to truly evaluate who fits the system better, who's more productive.
Yeah.
Who do we need more? And when you have the ability to make cuts like that in training camp, it shows the overall depth of the roster that I don't think they had at that position last year.
By the way, one other position, two other positions that we don't really talk about much that they could either draft very late or pick up as a priority free agent.
Can I guess one?
Yeah.
You gonna say punter?
Punter.
What's
Could
the
have
other one?
seventh-round punter or a free agent who could end up stealing the job. And by the way, something else they could do late, 6th, 7th round, they might draft a quarterback.
I was thinking that too.
Hey,
I don't
real
think
quick.
Josh Dobbs is a lock to be on this team.
So per Josina Anderson, the Browns are actually hosting Tennessee wide receiver Jalen Hyatt for a visit today. So, Bull, to your point about not knowing the future with Amari Cooper and the Browns actually preparing themselves to be 1 year ahead like the Steelers used to do, I think they can package a couple of those picks, and if Jalen Hyatt is there in the second round, that can be their pick, and he probably can step in and start right away.
Hey, that little nugget's brought to us by Lincoln Electric, because Browns Nuggets these days are brought to us by our good friends over at Lincoln Electric. If you need a job, they are masters in manufacturing and welding. Check out good old Lincoln Electric.
Let's put Lincoln Electric's graphic up there. Give them a good look at Lincoln Electric.
Yeah, Lincoln Electric, man.
They're lighting me up right now.
It's such a great logo. But we talked about this yesterday, but look how clean that logo looks.
Yeah.
Just saying. Lincoln Electric,
very
great
good.
people. Hey, that's a good point, though, Earl. And they
Another
might
yes.
love a receiver. They might love someone.
Yeah, I don't want to get. I think people get carried away by to me these visits are meaningless.
Yeah.
It's not an indicator that you're necessarily interested in the player or not. Sometimes teams meet with these guys to
As smoke screens.
Yeah, who knows what the truth is. But yeah, I mean, it does make a point of wide receiver. Like, I definitely think wide receiver is in the mix for the Browns in this draft. But I think there's no way they stay and take 2 guys in the 3rd, 2 guys in the 4th. And they're going to use those picks to move up, move down. Maybe they're going to try to get more picks next year.
Yeah.
You know,
As Jason said, they can't fit 8, 9 guys on this roster. They just.
I
the
mean,
numbers,
you could, but
It's highly unlikely.
Yeah, the numbers
I
don't.
mean, is the Browns roster that good right now?
To take 8 rookies
Yeah, I mean,
on this roster?
Yeah, probably not.
And not even high picks, like low picks?
Right.
Yeah.
Unlikely.
If
That
they
would
had
that'd be a
if they
bad
had
sign.
A
if
first, 2 seconds, and 2/3, then maybe they.
Right,
But
right.
we're talking 5th, 6th round picks.
Yeah. All right, let's keep moving now.
Let's talk Guardians.
Let's
How they
talk about
cost
the
me money
Guardians.
yesterday.
So
Class A.
last night's game was kind of crazy.
Kinda.
12-11 is the final. Was it 12-11?
Yes.
Right? In 10, Guardians have already played 2 extra inning games in their first 5. They've won 4 in a row. They're 4-1 to start the season. That's great. Class A, by the way, and I didn't mention this the other day because he was lights out anyway, but it is interesting. His velocity is down a little bit. I don't know if you know, like.
Oh, he's still 95 as opposed
But
to.
I did notice that last
Yeah.
night on the gun. I think he was 98. Normally he's
Right. It was actually up yesterday from the 2 other performances, so I think he'll eventually get there. But
I'd have to go back and look at his early season numbers.
yeah, comparatively,
Last year.
I don't.
It's
I never
cold.
worry about it early in the season.
It's cold. It's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
cold.
It was cold last night too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Oakland.
But listen, let him get it. Class A, I'm not worried about Class
No,
A.
no.
Even the best closers have been like he had so few moments like that last year that it was kind of stunning that he blew the lead,
Yeah.
especially against the A's to give up a home run to Seth Brown and like that terrible lineup. But it's a hiccup. But you know, if it becomes a problem during the year, okay, we'll panic about it maybe. But I'm certainly not doing that after 1 bad appearance.
I'm only mad because I had Guardians by 1.5,
Yeah.
and he gets a save. I'm betting against the A's every game on the run line, by the way, this year. 162 games.
Yeah.
So far, I'm through 4 games. I'm down $2. They're 2-2. I'm down
All
$2.
right,
That's
but
awesome.
I bet them tonight.
Yeah.
Class A cost me money,
Yeah.
but I think Pleasac is where we have to talk about this.
Well-
and Jason, if you want to start with the text that you sent us yesterday, I'm not sure if you want to really say that, but
Well, he couldn't command his fastball. He was all over the place, and he was
Yes.
throwing middle, like he was leaving everything middle, and they were like the numbers of how hard Oakland was hitting him last night.
the exit velo was silly.
Oh, and that's a A's lineup. Like
The worst
Bad.
lineup in baseball.
Could you name
Yeah.
a single A's player before yesterday?
Well, yeah, I guess a fantasy baseball
Right.
lunatic,
Okay. No.
but
Yeah.
the average baseball fan
No,
probably
can't name a
couldn't.
player.
I couldn't.
no.
I heard of the leadoff hitter. Who's the center fielder?
Ramon Laureano.
Nope. Who's the other guy?
Connor Capel?
No, he was in right.
It was their leadoff hitter.
The little guy in center. I know who you're talking about.
Oh, Tony Kemp?
Tony Kemp.
No, Kemp was
He's
in
second base. Yeah, but I knew Tony Kemp because he played for the Astros.
Who am I forgetting right now? They have Laureano.
Brito. Was there a Brito? Wasn't a Brito in center?
Oh, Yuri Brito.
Yeah,
he's a rookie. He's the only legit prospect they have in the lineup.
You know, I said on the
Esturi, right? Isn't it Esturi Brito?
Esturi Ruiz.
Ruiz.
Right.
Brito, same thing.
We'll straighten it out.
I was after I put on our group chat that I thought Tanner Bybee would be up by Memorial Day.
Not Gavin Williams.
No, Bybee's ahead of him. And I texted Zach that, and I said, my hot take is I think Bybee will be here by Memorial Day. And he said the only one ahead of him is Logan Allen. And they've got about 16 Logan Allens in this organization.
I know. Enough with
so I'm not entirely sure which Logan Allen he was referring to. But he didn't dispute it. I mean, between the McKenzie injury, I have no faith in Zach Pleasac. I don't know how you can. He's had 2 terrible years.
Yeah.
He didn't have a great spring. Got hit around last night by a bad lineup. Yes, you're right. It's only one game.
Yeah.
But show me the evidence to have any sort of faith in him whatsoever.
No, and I don't trust him off the field. He's in that Clevenger, Bauer nonsense behavior.
I don't think he's to that extreme, but he was with Clev, obviously, during the COVID thing.
The guy's untrustworthy.
Yeah.
I don't throw anybody out after one start, ever.
No, of course
you can't
not.
do that. But
not even 2 or 3. Like, you got to give him at least the month of April, I would think.
So, listen, it felt like coming into the season, we're so used to the Guardians starting pitching being good. And that was actually, once McKenzie got hurt, I was like, I'm most concerned about the rotation.
You were worried about the rotation before McKenzie.
I was.
That, we were.
But now with him hurt, that was my biggest concern. And listen, we can't judge after 5 games. But so far, the bullpen has mostly been good. The lineup has mostly been good. And the rotation, three of the 5 games has been awful.
It has been what we thought it would be, all the way through, from the bullpen to the lineup to the rotation.
Yes.
Listen, Quantrill is a little rocky early on.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
I'm not as
But
concerned
he is what he
about
is.
him.
I mean, he's not great, but he's fine.
No, but, I mean, there's a lot of concern over, I think, Savali and Pleasac at this point.
Yeah.
And obviously the McKenzie injury, now you got Hunter Gaddis you're relying on.
Yeah.
I don't like him.
So I do think that, I mean, they're 3-headed prospects of Espino, Gavin Williams, and Bybee. Espino's coming back from injury. Gavin is, I think, AA, and Bybee's in AAA. He's starting to he's next. And, if you don't know a lot about him, he's sort of in the Shane Bieber mold of a control guy, mid-round pick coming out of college. And the Guardians sprinkled their voodoo magic witch dust on him, and he added 7 miles an hour to his fastball, and he's the next in line.
Yeah.
So I think that he will be up sooner than later, just because of injury or ineffectiveness of the guys in front of him. And I think they want to get a look at him. And I think part of this was by design of, they know they've got these young guys coming. Let's get a look at them, certainly by the July's trade deadline, so they know what they're shooting at here.
Right.
They've got plenty of ammo. We've talked about it at length. They have everything they need to go get what they want, but they need to know what their needs are.
Right.
And the lineup does look okay. Will Brennan is looking great. I mean, again, very early. But Brennan.
That throw yesterday in the 7th.
Oh, that was a fantastic throw.
One hop rocket.
Yeah.
Him and Gonzalez are sort of like in a platoon, it looks like right now. I don't think that they're sold on Oscar.
No, well, if that's the case, then Brennan's going to play more because he's playing against Rikers.
Yeah, I know. But I think there's some concern over Oscar and whether or not how disciplined he can be at the plate. But, Quan looks like he hasn't missed a step from last year. Miles Straw's actually hitting right now. We'll wait and see.
It doesn't matter. Miles Straw's going to play because he's a good fielder, a good base runner.
Right.
They don't need him to be great offensively.
No, but if he can hit 240 at the bottom of the lineup,
fine.
that's huge.
Take that run to the bank.
Yeah, I mean, the lineup's in good shape. Could they eventually do something in right field? Listen, I've been screaming about Brian Reynolds for a while. I'd love for them to trade for him. He's a sure thing. I would trade Oscar Gonzalez and some young hitters to get Brian Reynolds, but I don't think that's going to happen. But pitching, whether Bybee comes up or whatever, I still love the idea of them adding a veteran starter, especially come playoff time, because you want somebody with experience there. Listen, Tristan McKenzie, we love him. When he's healthy, he's great. But he has a long minor league history of injuries. I don't know what he's going to be this year. We're hoping he comes back in 2 months. Maybe he's going to come back in 2 months, and maybe the final 4 months of the season, he's going to be Cy Young caliber or borderline. But we don't know. Can't, Pleasac, I thought coming into the season he can't be trusted, so this did nothing to dissuade me. Now, Savali pitched great. He was fantastic
Yeah.
against a really good Mariners lineup.
I still don't trust him.
But I don't trust him. I don't trust him.
You're not gonna write
I
off
trust him a
Pleasac
little
after
more
one.
than Pleasac.
Well, sure.
But I want it ideally for me, Quantrill and Savali. For me, Pleasac gone. Quantrill and Savali are my 4th and 5th starters. Bieber's my 1. Hopefully McKenzie's my 2. Either way, I need a middle of the rotation veteran. Even if I get Bybee, I still want the middle of the rotation veteran. I'm not saying they got to go out and trade for a superstar. That's hard to do. But there are good middle 3rd starter veterans that can be had out there.
And look at it from we're looking way down the line.
Yeah, we're not trading for him now. There's
158
no
games
panic,
in the future,
yeah.
157. But in a playoff series, when you really only throw 3 guys, even in a 7-game series.
Well, you throw 4. You should throw 4.
Should, but just
Yeah.
I'm saying, sometimes you
Yeah.
only get through 3.
Yeah.
You have Bieber, who you love.
Right. There's nobody else
And
right
then
now.
no one else you love. Now we
Right.
we
Well,
may
I love McKenzie, but we
we'll
see.
may love McKenzie when he's healthy. We love McKenzie, but like
Yeah.
you said, there's a track record of him not being available when you want him to be available. He's just injury prone through the minors.
Yeah.
And we'll see. But can I pull us back on a macro
last
micro
night?
scale?
Yeah.
Yeah, last night real quick. Once again, do not overreact to any individual game, good or bad. Good
yeah.
or bad. But I do think what we've seen through 5 games from this Guardians team, resiliency-wise, and I know they're young and it's the regular season and some older teams just don't always have that same fight. They could have folded yesterday easy. Pleasac gives up 6 runs in the 2nd inning. They have a guy named Xavier Curry.
He did a good job.
Yeah.
He actually pitched well.
I'll be honest, I was unfamiliar with him before yesterday. Shout out Curry, pitched awesome 5 innings.
He came up last year, pitched a little for them last year. He did a nice job.
The fact that not only once but twice they erased the hole, then late, to give up the home run in the 9th to tie it, to come back and then score 2 runs right in the top of the 10th, not let this game prolong, I think is a testament to not just Tito for always having his finger on the pulse, knowing exactly what buttons to push on this team, but a team that you're going to have to steal some of these wins. That's a ball game they had no business winning. They scored 5 runs unearned. I know it's the A's, but I'm just saying, based on how the first couple innings went, they had no business actually winning that game and come down the playoff stretch, wild card seedings. Those are the little games that when they're 90 and 70, and you have to come to 1.5 game slip between getting home field advantage in the playoffs, making that first, second wild card spot. Those are the games that end up mattering, and I love what I've seen from them as far as their resiliency, not willing to give up yet, even though it's only 5 games into the season.
Tim Herron, by the way.
Great job again.
We talked about him yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, he's, I think, going to be my little favorite little reliever type thing that no one knows about. His slider. I mean, listen, I'm not going to put him in the Andrew Miller class yet, but when you've got a lefty who can throw a slider like that that's unhittable, how huge that is for your bullpen when you can get lefties and righties out just throwing 2 pitches.
Yeah.
So he's faced 8 batters so far this year, has 6 strikeouts and given up 1 hit. He was nasty. Karinchak obviously had his best performance yesterday, no base runners. And not only did they come back, as you say, down big early, even though it is against the A's, you down big, you down big. Usually the team puts up 6 after 2 innings, you usually lose the game. So not only did they come back, but also they come back, they take the lead, then Clase blows the save. A lot of times when your closer blows the save, it's deflating to the team.
Especially on the road.
Especially when you had to fight so hard to come back. And then they come right back and put up 2 in the top of the 10th. And they gave up 1, but that was big.
I do want to see them hit the ball out of the park, though.
Home run numbers are.
We know how this ends.
Yeah.
We know how the scrappy, gutty, steal an extra base. We know how that ends, and it typically doesn't end well in the postseason.
I do think I believe there's not enough sample size to know that for sure.
Sure, of course.
Because there's not enough teams that play that way. Stolen base percentage is through the roof right now.
Yeah, it is.
Through the roof, and that's a big advantage for the Guardians. Batting average way up. That's, again, advantage for the Guardians. Yes, you want to see more power. Josh Bell's off to a bad start. But Naylor's off to a great start. Maybe this is the year he kind of is consistent for the whole season. Obviously, Jose had a big game yesterday. Quan, a great start. Yes, they do need more power, but I think it'll come. Josh Bell's going to be a guy who's going to get hot and then he'll hit a bunch of home runs.
You guys have watched Naylor a lot more than I have, so I'm going to defer to you guys completely on this.
Yeah.
From watching him last year to this year, and it's impossible to truly tell, but it looks like he's just up in the box with a lot more confidence. Like, he seems calm, like, he's an emotional guy. Seems like he's just kind of taking a deep breath, and even though the pitch clock is speeding it up, He just seems to be a little more calm in the box, and he crushed that home run last
I don't
night.
know. I mean, to me, I don't know. I think he's always been confident. I don't think that's a problem.
No. Like I said, you guys have watched him more.
I think he's a streaky hitter. So
he's absolutely a streaky hitter. I do think they've been tweaking the swing a little bit. I think they've got it to a good spot. They're happy with where it's at. Yeah. And also, he's fully healthy. Like last year, he was coming off that just gruesome ankle injury.
That's true.
And he was healthy last year, but now you're 1 year removed from that. And I mean, he's always been a confident player, but he looks confident, relaxed, and like he's ready to. And I mean, not that he played outfield last year, but I'm glad the outfield experience is behind him. Yeah. He's a first baseman, DH. That's it. And now let's see what he can do in a full year.
Listen, the lineup's really good. It's good. It's missing some power. I mean, I think the power will come. They're not going to be a top home run hitting team. That's not going to happen.
It's going to be middle of the pack.
Can they be middle of the pack? Last year they were the bottom. If they get to the middle of the pack, I think that's good enough.
I thought to get to middle of the pack, they needed Oscar to be what they hoped the ceiling of Oscar would be, along with the big free agent signing like Josh Bell. You know, a little bit more organic growth in the power to a guy like Naylor that we were talking about. And I don't know. Like, I asked Tito about it in spring training about, do you feel like you addressed the power deficiencies?
Yeah.
And it wasn't really a glowing answer.
Yeah. I mean, my hope, and it's probably unrealistic, my hope is that they still will be aggressive and get one more bat and one more pitcher at the deadline or around the deadline. Now, I don't know. I was reading yesterday that it looks like the Guardians are not getting their payment from Bally's. Is that official now?
No, it's not official, but it's easy to connect the dots.
Yeah.
So the 4 teams that Diamond wanted to renegotiate the deals on were the Reds, the Guardians, the Diamondbacks, and the Padres. And the Padres and Diamondbacks are already on the record that they did not receive payment.
Right.
I couldn't get an answer out of anyone when I was in Arizona, on or off the record, where the payment stood. But it's easy to connect those dots. And the Guardians have appeared in the lawsuit, which I haven't had time to follow up on. But they just made their first appearance in the ongoing litigation. So all of it pointing to, yes, that they are not going to be receiving the
can you explain for me and everyone else why that's significant for the Guardians making moves later?
I don't know that it's significant. It could be significant because they could, unlike teams like the Yankees and the Cubs that print money, the Guardians are relying on that TV money.
Baseball relies on local TV
more than any sport.
More than any sport.
Yeah. And so, now again, with, what's his name, the new owner that came in? Blitzer. Maybe they're able to spend more. They did sign those extensions, including the big one with Jimenez. Maybe the TV thing's not going to be a big deal in the short term. I don't know.
Well, I think it could be.
I think it probably will be.
I asked Chris about it. I asked Chris Antonetti when I was out there, and he said in the short term, he didn't think it would have an impact. And we saw it. Like, they got the Jimenez extension done, and I think that there were other deals that they were working on.
Right.
So I don't think that necessarily in the short, but he said in the long term, nobody really knows. Nobody really has an answer for that right now. So I think this is just another thing. You go back to the COVID and just the navigating these uncertain times for these teams that they didn't really know and understand of how this is going to play out. And I think this is yet another one of, like, it's not that they're like, the Guardians keep a lot of things close to the vest. This isn't that. They truly don't know. Nobody knows how this is going to end.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that it's come to this. This is what happens when we have corporate, same corporations owning everything. And what's the word I'm looking for? Consolidation.
Monopoly.
Yes.
Monopolies, consolidation sucks for all of us. Anyway, I'm not going to go on and on about that. But the bottom line is it could affect their ability to add to the payroll at the trade deadline, which I'm hoping they have some room. And as good as the lineup's been, I still think I want to keep making it better. The pitching's good, keep making it better. And hopefully they have some payroll flexibility, at least a little bit, to be able to add. But right now, you got to feel good, especially about where the lineup is.
4-1 through 5 games.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's 5 games, but that is
better than being 1-4.
Hell of a start to the season, especially after opening night, where Mr. Overreaction on Friday, where we were like, is this offense? What's it
we weren't like. You were joking.
Well, joking, but like, that was not a good offensive showing. And since then,
gentlemen, please.
No, we did a segment on Friday called Mr. Overreaction, where I purposely put on the big, like I said, Shea Bieber's teammate Tatum because they refused to score runs for him.
Okay.
Confirmed, not true. But
they've scored a ton of runs.
But they've scored a ton of runs since then.
3 of the 4 games.
The pitching has been, for the most part, pretty damn good since then.
Yeah.
All to be told. So, through 5 games, I think you have to be happy with where the Guardians stand in the grand scheme of things. Twins look good too, though.
Yeah, I mean, how can you not be at this point? So, it's early. You don't want to get carried away, either good or bad. But, yeah, I think it's interesting. When it came to the young players that were going to play every day, I think we all were very confident that Quan would pick up where he left off. And I think everybody had a sense of, is this Oscar Gonzalez thing real? And again, 5 games, but so far, after a bad camp, Oscar's looked shaky. And so far,
our boy Will Brennan.
Quan is just, Quan just has the type of game that
he's going to be good for 15
he's not
years.
going to go in long slumps, probably.
No, he's exactly what you want at the top of the order.
Right.
Jose's been Jose. Rosario, I was never a believer. I haven't hardly been in to see you guys. I was never a believer in the extension talk. If it was, I
didn't buy that
I
either.
thought it was only to trade him. I wouldn't even sign him for $10, $12 million. I think they can get from their prospects what he gives you. It's not like,
well, you hope.
yeah, but
he's
he's not even Carlos Correa. You know what I mean? Like
No.
he's not giving you elite level production.
No.
He's a great clubhouse guy. He fits what they need in the lineup, but I think this is probably his last year.
I think it's a situation, like they don't like to just let guys walk that are good players.
No.
But they're going to have to do that this year, probably.
Probably with him. And
You
again,
don't want to like in the past, like they've traded a Bauer in season, a Clevenger in season. Those guys weren't important clubhouse guys.
right.
Yeah.
I think if they're leading the division,
It's hard to
you
trade
can't trade Rosario.
It's hard to trade your starting shortstop and 2 hole
Yeah,
hitter.
I mean, that
if
doesn't
you're
make
out
any
front of a
sense,
first place
but-
team.
Yeah.
I mean, the Rays have done it. Like the Rays do it all the time. They traded who was the shortstop that traded Milwaukee?
Willie
Adames.
Adames, yeah.
Like
But he wasn't as established as Rosario. He had still been
And
developing
their
as a
top
young
number one
player.
prospect in baseball was Wander Franco, who was behind him.
Sure,
He was like
yeah.
the number one. Which
Right.
Rosario was too.
yeah, but they didn't even promote Franco right away. They gave to
Tyler Walls, Taylor
yeah.
Walls, whatever his
So
name
I
is.
mean, there is precedent for it, but I would expect Rosario will probably be there all
Yeah,
year.
I'd be surprised if they traded him. But he's gone at the end of the season. And you wonder, do they move Jimenez to short, which is his natural position, and use one of the other young guys at second?
I think he is so good at second.
they just want to leave him be.
I don't
I'm with
know.
you.
I don't know. I mean, again, he had a 7 WAR last year. That is unheard of for second base.
Right.
I think you just got to leave him there and
Yeah.
just enjoy.
And maybe
I mean,
get-
he made another terrific defensive play last night on just. He's a
so fun to
vacuum.
watch, too,
Yeah,
yeah.
his hands are just terrific.
What is Arias' natural position?
short?
Short
yeah,
too?
shortstop.
Short's his natural
I don't
spot.
remember how good he was in the minors defensively.
He's got a good arm and
Yeah.
good defense. Like,
We haven't seen him enough.
yeah, I don't think he's elite
But
necessarily.
neither's Rosario defensively.
No, but Rosario's gotten better.
Yeah.
I thought he was gonna make the Rosario real quick. Sorry to cut you off, Jason.
Yeah.
But I thought he was gonna make the second inning. He dove for he tried
Yeah.
to backhand the one. I thought if he just kind of ran through it, he would have had it. So I'm not.
Rosario makes the plays. He doesn't have great range for a shortstop.
No.
But he makes all the plays. I mean, if he gets to it, he makes it.
He had the terrible throw last night, which
Yeah.
it happens. Like
Yeah.
even the best
Right,
uncork wild ones at times. You know, a year ago at this time, it was my understanding that it was sort of Jimenez and Arias was sort of what they were envisioning up the
Right,
middle.
right.
You know, pick your spot in
Yeah.
terms of who's going to be where, but that was sort of the combination. And we've seen that Arias, you know, the fact that he's on this team and they're just trying to find at bats for him and just trying to find places to play him.
Yeah.
You know, Rocchio is still there. He's another great prospect who really hasn't had his opportunity yet. I don't know. I don't know how this shakes out, but
Yeah.
I can only go off of what I was told last year. It was that it was going to be Arias and Jimenez up
Yeah.
the middle.
Listen, I think we all are happy to credit the Guardians for locking up Jose long term, locking up Jimenez long term.
Huge.
Emmanuel
Huge.
Clase.
Yeah.
I'm not that excited about Straw extension, but they did it. Trevor Stephan, they signed to an extension.
What's that tell you about James Karinchak? The fact that they locked up Stefan.
Yeah, they're
and
not interested in
Karinchak.
locking him up. They don't like guys that are like
And I'm just saying,
questionable characters like
I'm
that.
just saying, everyone looks at Karinchak as sort of the backup closer to
Right.
Clase, and I don't necessarily. I think it's
yeah,
Stefan.
Trevor
I think,
Stefan's really good.
I think they have a lot
And you
more
see,
faith in Stefan.
You don't need to lock up a million relievers.
Stefan's
No.
really good.
You know what I
too.
mean?
They're too volatile
now
year to
Tim
year.
Herron's come up.
Wait till Hentges comes back.
Right, Hentges looked good last year. I mean, they got enough guys. They could. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if they traded Karinchak because there are teams that will give up a lot for a good, like a hard throwing relief pitcher.
How old's Karinchak?
He's young, I don't
He's
know.
pretty young, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that's what I thought. Just making
At some
sure.
point. But I think the reality is, even with all the signings, and I feel good that they could sign, whether it's this year or this offseason, that they'll extend Quan at some point. I feel good about that. I like their chances better in general of like locking up a guy who's not a huge power hitter. I don't know. You're worried about Quan
Yeah.
because they couldn't do it already?
Yeah, I kind of thought this was the time to do it because
Yeah.
he's already lost 1 year. of control. This will be year 2, so you're down to 1 more year.
Right.
They better do it next year.
It has to be next year.
Before he's arbitration eligible, then it's too late.
Because Rosario's going to be gone. Now you have the guys to replace him. The reality is they're probably going to trade Shane Bieber this offseason. I don't mean to be doom and gloom, but that's
Jason's
the
been
reality.
saying that for 10 months.
I thought last year.
There's no way they're signing him at this point
No.
because he's going to free agency. He's getting $30 million a year. So
and that's the Gavin Williams, Daniel Espino, Tanner Bybee.
But will those guys be ready to pitch at that level by next year?
Right.
You know, with the Guardians, you give them the benefit of the doubt, but I think they can't let Bieber walk like they're going to let Rosario.
No.
Rosario in a trade is not bringing you back a ton.
You're going to get a middle infield Class A.
Right, which they don't need.
Right, or a reliever.
Rosario makes a lot of sense to let him play the season out.
Yes.
If for some reason it's a shocking thing and they suck this year, which is unlikely, okay, you trade him. Because what's the point of keeping him?
Right.
But Bieber, he's going to get traded this offseason. I don't think there's any – I'd be very surprised if he doesn't.
I wholeheartedly agree.
And they'll get a lot, even for 1 year.
Yeah.
I mean, look what they turned 1 year of Lindor into.
Right.
Speaking of trades, Earl, we got a super chat, don't we, about a Guardians trade?
Oh.
Yes, we do. And that whenever we have super chats, it is brought to you by PCC Air Force. Looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? Well, PCC Air Force is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Air Force in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up. Plus, you get full benefit packages, paid time off, and a sign-up bonus. Apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. We got a super chat from Donnie M.
What up, Donnie?
Question for Jason. Who would you give up in a trade for Shohei Ohtani?
We talked about this the day you weren't here after the World Baseball Classic.
Oh, yeah. He wasn't here for that?
No, he wasn't.
So we were saying, like, normally, I mean, we know the Guardians are not going to trade for Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
But the question Mike asked was, no matter what you have to give up for him, would you do it for 1 year with the Guardians? And I said I would do it because of who he is. He's so special. And I'm so confident they can replenish the talent. Again, I know it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But I would absolutely do it. You'd have to give up four great prospects.
I mean, for 1 year, you probably still have to give up 2 of Williams, Espino, and Bybee. That's the starting point.
Yes.
1 or 2 of Rocchio and
probably George
Valera.
Yeah.
Like it's.
If I had to trade Williams, Espino, Rocchio, Valera, I'd do it. That's crazy. I know they won't.
They won't.
But I would do it. 100%.
Would you, is the question, though.
No. Because I think it's not that I'm opposed to trading those pieces. Boy.
He's so unique
I know,
that
I
I
know.
would never want to do that for a 1 year rental, except him. He's the only player.
Yeah, I still don't think. If I had even a decent chance at re-signing him,
Yeah.
I would do it. Like, you bring him into your culture, you show him the city, you show him this is what we're
I know
about.
they'd have no chance.
But they'd have.
I'd still do it.
No
I'd still do it
theoretical
because it would make this season amazing and would give them a much better chance to win the World Series.
Let me change the question, but keep it the same. We are it's July 4th. Guardians are 7 games in first place in the AL Central. They have a 7-game lead over Minnesota. Make it 10 for the sake of this. They look like a legitimate World Series, not contender, but favorite. Does that change how you approach this?
Sure. Yeah, it probably
Right.
does. In that moment.
Can you imagine?
And listen, were they not in on Bryce Harper a couple years ago?
Supposedly.
And allegedly Juan Soto.
Yeah. So they
well, Soto would have been maybe a long-term thing.
and they've got the capital.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
do have the capital to get something like that done.
100%. I mean, can you imagine, in theory, a playoff rotation of Bieber, Ohtani, and McKenzie as your top 3? I mean, that'd be pretty hard to beat.
With that
their
bullpen, with the bullpen.
Good luck. I mean, I would.
Plus Ohtani hitting behind
Yeah,
and
right.
or in front of Jose.
Plus Ohtani would be your
ace. And
your co-ace and your co-best hitter.
I bet him second, actually.
Second?
I put him second
Yes.
between Quan and Jose.
Yes.
Quan, Ohtani, Jose.
However you want to do that top 3.
right.
Yeah. Oh,
Right. Yeah.
Never going to happen,
It's not going to
obviously.
happen. I would do it.
Ohtani's so good. He's completely wasted on the Angels. I mean, his free agency next year is going to be so much fun to watch.
He's going to get $600 million.
I hope he's not on the Yankees. I really don't want him to go to the Yankees.
He's going to the Yankees or Dodgers. Like, who else can
I think he's
afford
going
him?
to.
The
I think he's
Cubs.
going to
I want the
Dodgers.
Cubs to sign him.
They're not signing him.
They have the money.
They're not signing him.
They have the money.
You think they're going to sign him to $600 million deal?
I don't think so, but they have it.
They're not gonna
Well, so do
spend
the
it on him.
Padres, but he's not going to San Diego.
The Padres don't have it. They've signed so many guys
They
already.
are just drunken sailors.
They don't
on
have
shore
it.
leave.
They don't
Jason,
have
you're
any of
telling
the
me the
money.
Cubs don't have the money to pay
Oh, no, I'm
Ohtani?
saying
They
they
100%
do. But
do.
what proof do we have that they would spend that kind of
Well, I
money?
mean, in the World Series year, they had the second highest payroll in baseball.
Okay, well.
Oh, I don't think they're going to do it. I'm just saying they could easily do it. They're printing money in Chicago.
Yes, I agree.
They
with
own
that.
the whole real estate around the stadium.
But I
and
don't.
they own
But I'm
everything.
just saying, like, we don't have any evidence that they would.
That they would go that high.
Yeah.
I mean, probably not. But he's such a unique player that I think any team that can afford it has got to play. But yes, the Dodgers and Yankees are most likely.
I think the Dodgers are most likely. Doesn't have to leave L.A.
Yeah.
Apparently, he really likes L.A.
By the way,
I wonder. What about Seattle? They've got the money.
yeah, I mean that would
They've got the money.
right.
And
I mean,
they've got,
he is going to cost at least $50 million a year minimum.
And they, obviously Ichiro is a huge star there. They have a heavy population.
Right, Asian population, Japanese
population.
population. Yeah,
So I don't know. I mean, I don't think
It's
that's
a good sleeper team.
yeah.
I think it's possible. By the way, you see Brian Hoyer, 2-year deal with the Raiders. Are we excited about that?
I did not see that.
Yeah, 2-year deal with the Raiders.
Back
How
with
many-
Josh McDaniels.
Yeah.
Yes, and
Yeah,
the
there you
Browns have confirmed that Michael Woods does have a torn Achilles, so
go. That is tough.
he is officially out for the year. All right.
We got Windhorst coming in a sec, but
Yeah.
this month now, in less than 2 weeks, we are going to the Greeny Card Show.
We are.
And I'm hyped about that. Early, you want to tell us a little bit more about the Greeny Collectors Card Show?
Absolutely, man. So Great Lakes Collectors Convention, right? The Great Lakes Collectors Convention presented by Greeny Sports Cards takes over the field house in Independence, Ohio. April 14th through the 16th, where the passions of sports fans, collectors, and sports talk enthusiasts like Adam the Bull and my man Mikey McNuggets with no sauce, they'll all be together. 50,000 square feet of ball card bliss, hundreds of display tables, card shop, live theaters with interactive appearances from the region's most notable sports media. Great cards, great location, great show. Tickets on sale now at greenysportscards.com. Mike, how can you get some free tickets?
If you go to WKYC.com/contest, we are giving away a grand prize of 4 VIP passes to the Great Lakes Collectors Convention. And we are giving away 4 second-place prizes of a 4-pack of tickets. So in total, we're giving away 20 free tickets to this event.
Wow.
4 VIP passes. It's going to be awesome. I believe they cover all the days. Don't quote me on that, but I do believe that's the case. And come hang out with us. It's going to be a great time down in
Yeah,
Independence.
we'll be
It'll
there
Meebo
Sunday. Are
and
you
G.
going, Jason, or you're not going?
No, we will be out of town. Remember, you
you-
were making
yeah,
fun of me,
right.
and we are going to be out
Jason
of
never
town.
knows what's going on in his house. Eventually, your wife says, "Hey, we're going away. Where are you guys going? Anywhere interesting?"
Just to Columbus, to
Yeah,
Coast
that's boring.
We're leaving for Vegas in 6.5 hours.
Oh, okay.
It's his son's 21st.
Just you and the wife, right?
No, we're taking my son. He's turned 21.
Oh,
Happy which camera? Happy birthday, Alexander. Turns 21 at midnight in 12 hours.
Wow.
So we're taking him to Vegas for a day and a
Happy
half.
birthday to Director Steve.
Oh, yeah, it's
Today
also
is
Director Steve's
Steve's
birthday.
Steve's
That's right.
birthday.
That's
Steve
right.
turning 55 today.
Well, no, my son's tomorrow. Steve's today.
Steve, 55? Okay.
Close enough.
It doesn't matter. You're a guy. Guys don't care.
While
Do
we
guys
wait
care
for
about that?
Windhorst.
I don't know.
Real quick, we'll wait for Windhorst.
By the way, Austin Riley and the Braves hit a 473-foot
it's a
home
bomb.
run. Getting for a second though, getting back to your son though, are you going to give him like a stipend to bet with every day, or how does that work?
No, we're going to give him money for his birthday.
Yeah, and then he can do what he will.
When we're taking his buddy, him and his buddy, and
Can they go to strip clubs?
I mean,
You would let him, but your wife might not like that.
no, we're.
I'm getting him into trouble.
Don't be getting me into trouble.
Sorry, no strip clubs. It's inappropriate.
But because my wife wanted to take him, and I'm like, what 21-year-old wants to hang out with his mom and dad on his 21st birthday?
Yeah.
So now the buddy's coming, and they won't be with us the whole time. So
right. So who knows?
I don't think he's taking enough money. If he goes to a strip club, it's gonna be a quick trip.
Yeah.
And he's not gonna have nothing left to gamble with. So.
Speaking of birthdays, though, real quick, while we're waiting for Windhorst, it is Director Steve's birthday. This whole
we
show.
just said that.
No, well, let me get what I'm saying. I know. This whole production, just so everyone knows, would not be what it is without Director Steve. He does an unbelievable job.
Steve does all the funny things you see, like when
he made you skinny earlier.
Made me skinny. Well, I don't know, making me skinnier. He attempted to make me.
He blurred the cameras when Gene had his glasses. That's terrifying. Take that off, Steve. But real quick,
don't ever show me that again, Steve. That even freaked me out.
What is your favorite? Well, we got Brian Windhorst here in a second. So until we get Windy, what's your favorite Director Steve moment in the 11 months he's been
By the way,
Steve?
Mike Killing Time has just said we're going to have Windy here in a second 3 times within a minute. Let's just call that out because that's what
Brian Windhorst is coming in less than 60 seconds now. I'll keep saying it. Favorite Director Steve moment? Yeah, I like when he said he's never been.
Gun here. I had a favorite moment.
Well, I'll go first, and I like when Director Steve said he'd never been inside a fuzzy animal.
That was what that's the first place my mind went.
If you're not overtime, that was a classic overtime.
I don't remember that. Was I not here for that?
We played the clip like 75 times in a row. The whole overtime was just keep replaying.
I must have been off that day.
We don't have it
because I don't remember that.
You would remember
comment.
Steve saying he's never been inside a fuzzy animal. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the funny stuff with Steve is off the air, as we've because Steve is one of the few guys in Cleveland that has no interest in sports. But as he's been part of the show, and we've been doing the show approaching a year, we're about 11 months at this point. Yep. May 9th will be our anniversary. He has picked all our brains about sports, and so he's gaining a little bit of interest.
Him and Tyvis jousting back and forth on what a safety is, why they call it a safety, why hockey is periods, baseball is innings, football and basketball is quarters.
What was the one that
college basketball is halves?
Wait a second. There was one thing that you tried to explain to him for a while.
Sports gambling.
Sports gambling.
Plus and minus.
That's right.
He doesn't get it. We got Windy?
No, but it is 12 o'clock, which means our 12 o'clock lunch hour of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show is brought to you by Carlick Racing, the official NASCAR team of Northeast Ohio.
Oh, Steve's brother just called him out and said
he's 61. 61. Well, happy birthday, 61. Steve. This would not be possible.
What are you doing for your birthday, Steve? Anything interesting?
His brother's here.
Yeah, I know, but oh, you're going to see your mom. All right.
61. Looks good for 61.
Yeah, he's in good shape.
Steve, you want to go to Vegas with Jason and his son?
Are you inviting him?
We'll show you a good time.
Steve might never come back from that, for the record. I have more faith in Alexander coming back from that than I do in Director Steve.
Come back with me for a day and a half.
Let's go out to Brian Windhorst. We got him. Where is Brian Windhorst right now? Do we know where he is?
He was on First Take this morning.
There he is.
What's up, Brian?
Where are you right now? Like, what city are you in?
That's for me to know.
Wow, that's top secret. Well, Jason, by the way, Brian, Jason, for an hour before the show, was revealing all your dirty secrets for about an hour off the air.
He doesn't have. I don't have enough dirty secrets. I haven't had much of a life. He's the guy who's had the life and has all the secrets, which
true.
I won't tell on this show.
I think we know a lot of them. I mean, what percentage of your dirty secrets do we know?
What kind of question is that?
I mean, that's a reasonable question.
No, it's not.
What percentage of your? I don't know.
7.
Probably very low.
You think so? All right. Man, it's only 7%. Brian, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. I got to admit, I am so ready for the NBA. I am refusing to watch the last 3 Cavs regular season games because the NBA regular season is too long. Now, the commissioner, who I like, wants to add regular season games for this stupid tournament. I don't know why they're doing it. I don't know if they're trying to build off the World Baseball Classic or whatever. Then do it by country. I don't know. What do you think of this tournament? And do you think the regular season is a little too long and it's just time for the playoffs already?
Well, look, Adam Silver is a big fan of European soccer. If you follow European soccer, you'll get what he's trying to do. If you don't follow European soccer, you won't get it. Yep. My man Jason has been trying to follow soccer a little bit more. I had to hold his hand at times during the World Cup because he couldn't take the concept of stoppage time, and I get it. I had to cross that too. And one of the things that happens in European soccer is that teams play in multiple things at once. It's like they can play in one competition on Tuesday and another competition on Friday. They can play the same team in the same week in 2 different competitions, and the game mean totally different stakes. That is unusual for the American sports fan. That's not exactly how this NBA midseason tournament is going to go. They're going to play regular season games, and they're going to somehow matter for the thing. But if you want the honest truth, it's just about money. Yes. They're looking for something else to sell. The NFL has done a great job in recent years of adding things to sell. For example, They added a 17th game. That was a pretty big thing to sell. They added these games in London, so now they can sell games in the morning on Sundays, because why dominate Sunday afternoon and evening when you can also dominate Sunday morning? They turned the draft into a 3-day affair. Why have it be 2 days when you can have it be 3? That's what I always say. Yeah. So the NFL has been hitting it out of the park here. Yeah. So the NBA wants to sell something. Specifically, they want to sell something to Amazon or Apple, and this is a nice little package that they can sell to them. And that's what this is about. And they're going to give the players, I think, $500,000 a player if they win it, which is they're trying to sell them on it. Although there are some players who earn more than $400,000 in an average regular season game. So I don't know how much of it's going to do it there, but that's what it is. And maybe it'll catch on, maybe it won't. They're also trying to get people to care about the NBA a little bit and gamble on the NBA a little bit during the NFL season. This is going to happen, in November, December. I don't know if it's going to work, but that's what they're doing.
Is there any chance they can create enough revenue off of this to offset the loss of reducing games in the regular season? Or is this just a money grab of adding to?
Clearly not, because they're not really reducing games in the regular season. For all Adam Silver's exploits, and if the league office heard me say this, I'd get a call, because they'll say that they reduced back-to-backs and they got rid of the 4 and 5 night stuff, and they give the players off more time at All-Star. Adam Silver has only added games to the schedule since he's been commissioner. He added 6 games to the schedule with the play-in. There'll be 6 games next week that didn't used to be there. And for the 2 teams that play all the way to the championship game, there will be 83 games now at the midseason tournament. So more games have been added. There will be, I guess, some teams might play a slight, like a game less or something like that, but they're only adding games. The problem is that nobody has told the public yet, but the NBA players and teams have already decided that it's not an 82-game season, that it's something less than that. And so some guys decide to start the season, I'm going to play 70, I'm going to play 65, and if I get hurt, I'll play 50. And so, the season isn't actually 82 games anymore. Almost no players look at the season and say, that's 82 games. So it's just sort of 82 games in name only. And ultimately, that's the way it's going to be. And occasionally, you're going to get situations where it absolutely sucks for fans, where fans get totally screwed over. But the NBA is signaling with its actions that they don't care, and that overall, the what they think will be more money in national TV revenue, which almost certainly will be the case, will offset anybody that they've inconvenienced. And recent history suggests, based on their revenue, that they are correct.
Bringing this back to the Cavs, Brian, in terms of Evan Mobley and his development from year 1 to year 2, making that next step from a good, promising young player to a legitimate star in the NBA, has anything you've seen this year made you flounder or waver on your thought that he could be a legitimate centerpiece on an NBA championship team?
Well, the thing about it is that they're not asking him to be a high-level scorer. And because of that, he probably won't be a high-level scorer. If they don't need him to average 20 points a game, he won't, because they've built their offense around the 2 perimeter guards. And so, he doesn't score as much, but they don't ask him to score as much. So he's never going to be regarded as a superstar if he doesn't probably, be a 20 and 10 player. And so if you're only going to base it on the scoring, then he hasn't quite come around. He also isn't, I'd like to see him develop that outside shot. If he was more of a corner or wing 3-point shooter, he would really help out Donovan and Garland, because they are guys who need space. But when you watch him play defensively, he plays like a 10-year vet. Some of the stuff that he can do in terms of knowing angles, knowing spacing, the ability to challenge shots. I mean, almost nobody in the NBA challenges shots the way Evan does. And it's not just his man. The way he can get out and challenge shots, the way he finds ways to challenge shots while also remaining in rebounding position. Switch, it's a real basic concept. I kind of even roll my eyes when people talk about pick and roll defense. because I feel like it's X and O stuff that the average fan doesn't really care about. But when you can send your big man out and he can switch onto a guard, which means that you can defend the three-pointer, and he also is quick enough to stay with him and recover, like you can't find those guys. And he does it at age 19, 20. So he's got the potential to be an all-defensive player in the NBA for a decade, and that is super duper valuable. And if he doesn't score as much because your guards are killing it, then that's fine. I do think for the Cavs to get where they need to go, he needs to become a little bit more of a potent offensive player, whether that's in straight plays that they run for him in post-up situations or to create space. But I think he's had a very strong sophomore season. He's probably going to be on the all-defensive team, and definitely trending towards what the Cavs thought he could be.
Brian, the Cavs are, unless something weird happens in these last week, are going to probably play the Knicks in the first round. Cavs are going to have home field advantage. Cavs and Knicks just played this weekend. The Knicks beat them, even without Julius Randle. They played very well. Jay Crawford is off today. He and I were arguing about how much the regular season means. He basically changed his opinion on the Cavs-Knicks series because the Knicks beat him. I feel like the regular season is meaningless when it comes to predicting in the playoffs. What do you say to that?
Yeah, generally there's 100 different examples of the regular season not mattering as much. I mean, the Cavs better hope so. The Knicks went 3-1 against them.
Yeah.
The thing about a playoff series, the Cavs have more top end talent, and that always matters, or almost always matters. And Donovan and Garland and Mobley and Allen are probably all going to be playing 37 to 43 minutes in these situations. And it's a good thing because the Knicks bench kills the Cavs bench, kills them. In the last two games, the game on Friday and the game in December, the Knicks bench is like a combined plus 40 on the Cavs bench in those games in terms of scoring, in terms of the score. Emmanuel Quickly, probably going to be top 2 for the sixth man of the year. He's killed the Cavs this year. So the Cavs are going to need Karis LeVert to produce off the bench, and they're also going to need their starters to play really good minutes. When you look at the Knicks, they have some of the similar challenges that the Cavs have. Their lead scorer is a small guard, and so he needs space to operate. And sometimes the Knicks can get it to him, and sometimes the Knicks can't. Sometimes the Cavs can get Donovan space. Sometimes he's got to be Superman. So I am expecting a long series with some incredible individual performances, and where you see both teams' strengths and weaknesses absolutely on display. The Cavs bench is going to be a topic of conversation in this series, without question. And Donovan Mitchell is going to be a topic of conversation in this series. I mean, one thing that's been going on, JB has basically had the luxury of being able to prepare his team for the playoffs for the last 3 weeks because they've been generally healthy and they've been generally in good spots in terms of their standings. He's been playing his guys more and more minutes. It's one of the reasons why Donovan keeps scoring 40 points. It's because he's getting playoff level minutes. And he looks to me, I don't know for sure, but he looks to me like he's past those nagging injuries that he had around midseason, playing at a very high level. Evan Mobley's playing at a very high level defensively. They're going to be in position to win this series, but it is going to be rugged. This playoff situation kind of reminds me of 2005, the first LeBron playoffs, when, or was it, 2006, the first LeBron playoffs. They played Washington in the first round. Very intense 6-game series. Gilbert Arenas and LeBron kind of throwing haymakers at each other. LeBron had a last-second basket, I believe, in Game 5. Damon Jones, you may remember, hit basically the game winner in Game 6. But games that came right down to the end, and the Cavs just had more top-end talent and won. And then they go play the number 1 team in the East at that time, Detroit Pistons, and they have a very competitive 7-game series where the Cavs' warts were all on display and their strengths were all on display. That's what I think could be headed for the Cavs. A rugged first-round, intense, high-stress first-round series that they win. Then they play the Bucks in the second round and probably get sent home, but hopefully score a couple of points and get some momentum going forward. That's the kind of postseason that I think would be ideal for the Cavs.
You know I died a gruesome, rugged death on the Mike Miller Hill in 2015. I'm insisting Mike Miller was going to win the Cavs a playoff game. Mike Miller was going to win the Cavs a playoff game, and it never happened. So I'm climbing up the hill again and saying Danny Green is going to hold a role somehow, some way in this postseason. Am I about to get shot to death again, or do you think Danny Green can help this team?
He hasn't even played. I mean,
I know.
And now he's,
I'm getting a little nervous.
Now he's been out with with health and safety, which I think is code for COVID. I don't know for sure. Yeah, I mean, they have to, the thing about JB, I know people like to take pot shots at JB. JB is coaching this team like a teen 90s. And guys, it works. Okay? It works because their personnel favors big and favors defense. So he plays Allen and Milby together a ton. He plays Isaac Okoro the most minutes out of all of those options because he's his best defender. And they play with two small guards that they try to sort of create like they were Allen Iverson. And that was how you played in the 90s when his dad was, a coach in cutting his teeth in the NBA. And that's the way the Cavs are probably going to play in the postseason. But it's also because he doesn't have a lot of options. Dean Wade hasn't been good since he hurt his collarbone. Danny Green hasn't been an option. Ricky Rubio has not been good enough. He doesn't trust Cedi Osman enough to play him because he thinks he screws up on defense more than he helps on offense. So he has elected to go to this sort of defense first, second, and third set, and as a result, you have the number one defense in the league, and you've got probably a 50-win season here. But they are going to potentially pay the price for that when they need baskets under pressure. I think that's going to be their downfall. And so if you did have Danny Green, if you had some sort of, slider to that, defensive wall, it would really, really help. And, it could just as well be Cedi Osman who does it. He has a game where, you go back and look at the games this year where Cedi's been hot. It makes a massive difference. They look like a completely different team when Cedi gets 4 or 5 threes in there. It would be amazing if they had somebody who could play that way. And the reason that Danny Green's so tantalizing is because in theory, he can defend and hit threes. He's exactly the type of player that the Cavs need, but he's also just a year off an ACL, has barely played for this team. So, Jason has been around long enough that he can envision a situation in the second half of a game where nothing's working, and JB looks down and goes, "All right, Danny, get in there." And Danny comes out there, and his rings rub against each other as he comes out on the court, and he hits 3 threes in the first 6 minutes of a fourth quarter, and gets a couple of stops, and the game goes from 9 down to 2 up, and then Donovan Mitchell carries him home. Yeah, I can see that happening, but I mean, it's hard to say that it will when the guy has barely been on the floor.
And when it does happen, I'm going streaking through the quad.
There you go. And Jason's thighs will be rubbing together instead of the rings, thighs.
Brian, I got a question.
You're a horrible human.
Yeah, that's terrible visual. I apologize, but a good visual, one that we couldn't have you on and not ask about this. I want to bring you back to last summer, and you're on First Take, and you become a viral meme for a double point. And I know you don't talk about when you talk about the Utah Jazz. I think it was after the Gobert trade, prior to the Mitchell trade. My journalism professors are going to hate this.
Prior to the Gobert trade.
Prior to the Gobert trade. My journalism professors are going to hate this question because it's a 2-part question, but they go right next to each other. A, can you walk us through that moment? And as Stephen A. Smith always says, when you're cooking, you know you're cooking. So did you know you were cooking in that second? And B, when you pointed up, did you know that was going to be a meme? Was that intentional attempt to go viral in the meme sense?
Of course not. First off, it was Friday of July 4th weekend. I think July 4th was on either a Saturday or Sunday last year.
So good.
The entire ESPN operation was off on that day, okay? I know the basketball is a big deal to ESPN, but you know that it's not that big of a deal because during the free agency week, everybody's gone. Stephen A. was gone. Mike Greenberg was gone. Yeah. Molly Kieran was gone. Chris Russo was gone. Like, we were down to the third string on First Take, which is why I was there and kind of had that rhythm. And that's also why they let me cook on a Utah Jazz topic in the A block of First Take. Good luck going to Get Up, which, is looking for football 365, and me pitching First Take in the area of Utah Jazz in the A block. That's number one. Number two, I knew that the Jazz were this close to trading Gobert. And Adrian Wojnarowski and I had gone down the path the night before, and we just couldn't get it confirmed. They obviously didn't have the deal finalized. And no kidding, it was one of the biggest trades in terms of asset changing hands in the history of the NBA. So it was a complicated deal. But I had a very good idea that Gobert was going to get traded, and I already knew there's a pretty good chance Donovan Mitchell was going to get traded, and I could see that the team was probably going to do a massive overhaul. Their coach had basically walked out on them because he didn't want to go part of it. And on national television, people just don't talk about the Utah Jazz, but part of my job is to know what's going on with all the teams, and I could see what was going on. And there had been this trade the day before, and that Royce O'Neal trade, which was basically a signal of what was happening, happened like 6 minutes before Kevin Durant's trade demand became public. Like, literally, the news came out within 10 minutes of each other. So nobody knew it. And so there was just this storyline sitting there, involved potential 2 stars getting traded, that was not being discussed. So all of those things had to come together. The other thing was, I had done my podcast the night before where I had basically done this same routine, and I liked the way it sounded. And so that kind of led me to a sort of a dry run on it. So the other thing is, I've said this before, and it's, people think it's a joke, but it's serious. The chairs that we use we don't have good chairs like you guys have. The chairs that we have on these studio shows are all high chairs, and the backs are no good. It's like designed to make you sit up with your shoulders back and chin up and everything like that. And they're all high chairs. Well, at First Take, they have the best chairs because Stephen A gets the best of everything. So the chairs at First Take are really good, and they are strong enough that you can sit back. And so you can't do that thing unless you can sit back. I wouldn't sit back on another show because the chairs are funky. And so I know it sounds wild, but part of it was that the chair enabled me to sit back and do that. Plus they have all kinds of cameras that, it's like it's in the round. We don't have cameras that are high on other shows that had a high camera. So all of those things came together. And if it hadn't been a holiday weekend, I don't think it would have mattered because something else would have happened. But it happened on a Friday, and everybody was messing around, and it was a happy time in America, and I just got lucky, and I got no bonus out of it. No extra money whatsoever.
Brian, last thing, this is the most important question. I know you got your expense accounts or whatever, but if it came down to it, you're having dinner, you, Jason, Joe Varden, Dave McMenamin, throw Rachel Nichols in there, whatever you want to do, who would be, and you got to pay for things yourself, there's no network backing you up, who's most likely to pick up the check? Who's least likely to pick up the check in that group?
Varden is definitely least likely. Definitely.
Wow.
Joe is always trying to get other people to pay for his wine. That is something that has been going on for a long time. Joe works very, very hard. I mean, I don't know if I should just, what's the difference? Like, the thing is, like, when Jason was at the Akron Beacon Journal, like, he was such a king there that they just didn't care about his expense account. Whereas, like, they didn't trust Varden at all at the Cleveland Plain Dealer. And so, like, and the thing is, Joe likes wine.
Yeah.
And, like, how many bottles of wine the Akron Beacon Journal bought Joe Varden, I have no idea, but it is in the triple digits.
Countless.
Oh my God!
It is in the triple digits.
Wow.
And that's just the reality of it. Probably in that situation, Rachel would have the most money. I will say this, like, our group, we had an incredibly amazing 4-year run when LeBron was in Cleveland covering the Cavs. And we had great memories. And I can remember the night before Game 7 in Boston, before the Jeff Green game. Well, you'll remember the Jeff Green game. Uncle Jeff. I mean, LeBron was like absolutely drop dead amazing in that entire playoff run. And LeBron was great in that game too. But the reason they kind of got over the top in that game was Jeff Green. And we knew there was a pretty strong chance that it was going to be that LeBron was going to leave. We felt pretty strongly about it. We couldn't say it because you never knew for sure. And we thought there was a chance the Cavs were going to lose to the Celtics. I mean, it was a road game 7, right? It was hardly a strong of the 4 Cavs teams. It was the weakest team. So we had a dinner where we basically toasted the last 4 years, the night before that game in Boston. And I promise you that Joe did not pay for that wine.
Was Brian in the picture that you showed us of Varden on the roller coaster? Was he part of that contingent?
No.
Okay.
No, I wasn't there.
Do you know the picture we're referring to?
Of course, it's famous. It's famous in Cleveland media circles.
It hung in the Cavs practice facility for a number of years. Oh yeah, yeah. They blew it up to like life size and hung it in the practice facility by the media.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. We appreciate it.
Where it is now is where that photo that the Cavs hung up in their practice facility is now is a mystery that will forever remain unsolved.
It's collecting dust somewhere now. It's hidden away.
I think it's been burned.
You're probably right, buddy.
Thanks, man.
Brian, thank you so much.
Oh,
have a good day.
Gosh, that was funny.
I could have done an hour.
Do you agree with him? Before we do that, tell me about some Kaulig Racing.
Don't forget the 12 p.m. lunch hours brought to you by Kaulig Racing, Cleveland's premier racing team.
Yeah. There is so much that we didn't even get to.
Yeah,
so much.
we had 25.
I wanted to ask him about LeBron and the Lakers. I wanted to ask him about Ime Udoka and where he.
Well, if he ever wants to come back, you got the connection. Hopefully, he had fun. So.
By the way, do you agree with him on the Varden thing?
Joe's actually gotten better since he got to the Athletic, but that's 100%. So what's funny is Chris Haynes sort of put – Chris Haynes' expense is when he was at the Plain Dealer.
Right.
Forced the policy that like there is a strict limit of I think it was $40 a day they were allowed to spend.
I got you.
And when – this is pre-Athletic, when I was at the Beacon –
$40 a day for food?
Yes.
That's not a lot.
That is not a lot.
On the road?
On the road.
Yeah.
$40 a day.
That's a bagel in New York City.
It's like you make
maybe
food
it
for
was
yourself.
60, but I think it was 40. I think it was 40. And this is a few years ago before the prices exploded. But still, 40. And when I was at the Beacon, like he's right. Like no one never questioned me on anything. I just do whatever I want. So I did.
I think I got 40 for lunch traveling with the Batavia Muck Dog 25 years ago.
Yeah.
For crying out loud.
No,
So,
we could have done an hour more. I wanted to ask about the MVP race. This is the closest MVP race maybe in the last 40 years in the NBA. And I think he's a voter.
We got to make fun of Joe. That's much more important.
And I did want to hear the meme story. I'm glad he gave us a little credit.
Yeah, that was great.
I knew it was a Friday when the B-cast was on.
Yeah.
And he said the C-cast. Give himself some credit. But I didn't know he did a dry run on the podcast the night before, which allowed him to in the chair. Whoever would have guessed that first shake had the chairs that you could actually sit back on.
The one story that we didn't get a chance to get to, it's hilarious. We were it's that dinner he was talking about in Boston when we knew it was over. We just, if you were around that team at all, you knew it was done.
Yeah.
And we had the big dinner in Boston, and he and I and Joe were walking back, I think, after that dinner, and we were in the Little Italy district of Boston, walking back to the Marriott Long Wharf. Beautiful hotel.
That's where you guys stayed at?
Yeah, we
Great
always stayed
hotel.
at Long Wharf.
Great hotel.
So it's a short little walk. We'd walk back, and Brian on the streets in any sports city, it's like Taylor Swift. It's like walking with Taylor Swift. I'm not kidding. Except like the guy version. And these guys are losing their minds.
Yeah.
That Brian, and they don't know me, Joe, like whatever.
Yeah.
But Brian Winter, like they're going crazy, screaming at him, waving at him. They're trying to get pictures with him. And Brian, like, we get back to the hotel and Brian's cracking up. He basically said something to the effect of, well, if you guys like guys, I could have hooked you up tonight.
Is he a tall guy?
Brian?
Yeah.
No. He's like my height. But just
He's very recognizable looking.
oh, of course.
Yeah.
And his face was on TV and ESPN in particular all the time.
And one of the genuinely nicest people.
Yeah.
One of my favorite people. We didn't even get a chance to get into it. Like, we went to college together. I don't know if we talked about that on the show
He went
or
to
not.
Kent State?
Yeah. We
With
had
you and
class
Polk?
together. Yeah. We were all there at the same time. Me, Mike Polk, and Windhorst
What a
were all at
class.
Kent at the same time.
That crew.
And Brian and I had a couple classes. Like, it was like an 8 a.m. news design class. And I remember telling professor, like, listen, I ain't ever going to be here by 8. I'll do my best to be here by 8:45, but that's the best I can do.
Jason's like telling the teacher his plan.
Oh, yeah.
At 19 years old.
Oh, yeah. And the professor loved me. Carl Shearhorn, the only reason I made it through college is because of you. And Carl was like, yeah, whatever.
He let you get away with it.
And it was like a 2.5-hour class.
Yeah.
So it was one
Oh,
of those.
my God.
And I always joked, like, Brian went to class and I didn't.
Yeah.
That's why he's at ESPN and I'm not.
I didn't even tell Brian that he was in my stand-up routine.
I don't remember. What was he in?
Well,
Oh, yeah.
The joke about you.
Yeah,
obviously.
the
right.
flaming me part.
Yeah.
You can't never. I mean, you should have never taken an 8 a.m. class. That's
But
the
you
cardinal
had to.
You had to.
You had to. It was
Oh, it was
part of the
only
curriculum.
offered at
Yeah,
that
it was
time.
like the only time it was offered. But
Yeah.
just a tremendous guy. One
Yeah.
of my
Hopefully
favorite
we get him back
people.
on. Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah, we probably will. He is fantastic. A wonderful guy.
Awesome.
All right, in about
good
30
friend of
minutes,
mine.
the regular show will end, and then we will begin overtime, and you can be a part of it if you're not already there, Earl.
Attention, all Cleveland sports fans.
Are you tired of missing out on exclusive content and behind-the-scenes conversations?
The Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show has got you covered.
For less than $2 a month, you can become a Starters tier member. You get custom emojis and badges that other people don't have.
Or upgrade to the big-time coaches tier. For less than $5 a month, you get all the exclusive overtime content, things that those other suckers are not getting.
Don't miss out on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show experience.
All right, become a part of it with overtime. I'm kind of missing my full beard. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Earl, you want to set up this next topic, by the way? This was your...
So, like, me and
Yeah.
Mikey been going back and forth about this.
Yeah.
And Jason, I'm curious to know what you really think. I feel like, well, the question is basically, is Donovan Mitchell having the best single season ever in Cleveland Cavaliers history? Mike says no. I'm leaning towards yes.
Better than any LeBron season?
I said emphatically, as soon as he sent me the text,
No.
I said
Absolutely
yes.
not.
I said, outside of LeBron, maybe we could have the conversation. But if you include LeBron,
Absolutely not.
there was no
People
chance.
be so scared to include LeBron in these comments, man. Ain't nobody thinking about LeBron. I
Donovan
think
Mitchell
he
having
could
a
be
better
included.
year than LeBron?
Look, Donovan Mitchell already has 4 single-season Cavalier records in his first year.
What are those records?
Most three-pointers made in the season. He's the first Cavalier ever to score 40 points in 3 straight games. He has the most 40-point games in a single season in Cavaliers history, and he scored 71 points. I never seen
I
LeBron
don't
James
think
do none
any
of
of
that.
those. To me, none of those really matter. Those are like anomaly things. That doesn't. None of those prove a great season, except for the most 3-pointers. That's
There's a change of game and he's different play
Right.
style.
Even in the last 5 to 6, 7 years, the game has changed so much in the NBA
Right.
with scoring going up
Yeah.
and everything else. No, absolutely not. Just no.
I mean, LeBron has 2 MVP seasons.
LeBron
in
won
Cleveland,
MVPs.
and he was 8-time All-NBA first team 8 different times in Cleveland.
Donovan Mitchell's not going to be All NBA first team, is he?
He might not be All-NBA any team.
Right.
No, I mean Joe put him on his ballot for first team All NBA, but I don't
Really?
think. Yeah, but I don't think.
But
he probably doesn't.
But
make
Donovan Mitchell's not even in the conversation for MVP, nor should he be.
Donovan is a wonderful player.
Wonderful.
Fantastic player.
But he ain't LeBron.
But he's not in the class of of greatest of all time.
So let's parse this out from what Earl said and,
Yeah.
and make it the best non-LeBron season in Cavs history. And I do think you have a legitimate argument to be made that Donovan Mitchell is having the best season for any Cavalier in the history of the organization, not named LeBron James.
I mean,
I suppose
probably right there.
It's like
Yeah.
I'd like to make a case for some of those '80s teams, but it's such a different game.
Yeah, it's hard to
The
compare.
numbers you can't.
So I went back and did the research.
What about Kyrie's best season?
He was third-team All-NBA once. Mark Price was third-team All-NBA 4 times and first-team All-NBA once. In 92-93, Mark Price was first-team All-NBA. And you can see the difference in numbers based on the era and the style of play.
Yeah,
right.
That was a first-team All-NBA. It's the only time a Cav has ever been named first-team All-NBA who isn't LeBron James, who did it 8 times here. 18, 8 assists, 1.2 steals, and they had almost identical true shooting percentages between the two. What Mitchell's done offensively is unmatched by anyone not named LeBron, and Kyrie outside of one season. He's obviously the number one option. Kyrie was never the number one offensive option, so it's not apples to apples. But what Mitchell's been doing this season is straight up silly. Offensively, his scoring efficiency, how many times he's gone off, and especially when they needed it, as Windhorst said, they struggle to score buckets when it's late in games because they just don't have a ton of space. And Mitchell's the only guy who can really put an offense on their back and carry them through these stretches where they do struggle to score.
I thought, I don't know why I thought the question was best season without LeBron.
Well,
and while I think there's competition, I do think this is probably the best season by a Cav without LeBron. But I don't even think it would make a top 5 LeBron season.
I counted 8 seasons I'd rather have from LeBron than.
I mean, he was here for 11, so I could probably give you 9 or 10 that I would take over Donovan. I mean, and that's no slight on Donovan. Like, I don't want to.
No,
you know,
but
I don't want to make it sound like I'm down on Donovan because I'm not.
Donovan does nothing better than LeBron.
Earl, defend your case.
Shoot threes, I guess.
Well, first of all, Mikey wanted to lead LeBron out. I wanted to lead LeBron in. I don't know if you've all noticed or not. I'm not afraid. So
don't be afraid.
No.
All right, so make your argument.
Yeah.
You got to have LeBron in there. I just feel like this. Yeah, you can say LeBron won 2 MVPs.
Yeah.
But I've seen Donovan Mitchell do something, a lot of things in a single season that I've never seen LeBron do in the same year. And that's not to, like, take anything away from how great LeBron is. I never seen LeBron score 71 points.
Fact.
I never seen LeBron score 40 points 3 straight times. I never seen him score 40 points 12 times in a season. I never seen him lead the team in 3-pointers made in a season. It's just a lot of different things.
Right, but
again,
my argument, Earl, is that none of those things, except for maybe the 3-pointers, are those are one game or a couple of games. That's not a whole season. LeBron, in terms of making players around you better, I mean, you tell me, Jason. I don't think it's even close between LeBron and Donovan
The
Mitchell.
amount of money LeBron has made for everybody else on his team, like, dwarfs what he's actually made. I did a study on it a few years ago. It's insane. The one I'll give Earl was the 70-point game. I've never seen a single game.
Right, amazing.
In the regular
but that's
season,
not a season.
I've never seen anything like it.
Amazing.
I'll give that one to
His performance in
Donovan.
that game is one of the greatest performances ever. But LeBron, outside of 3-point shooting, I guess, LeBron does everything better than Donovan. Is there anything else Donovan Mitchell is better than LeBron?
So this is Mitchell's only season, so I'm going off this season in Cleveland. He's averaging, 4.4 assists and 4.8 rebounds. Pull up his season stats real quick.
LeBron never
averaged
averaged
LeBron
those.
averaged under those ever in 11 seasons in Cleveland. And he averaged over 9
double
assists
that,
once.
pretty much, most seasons.
Essentially double. I think it's 4.9 rebounds.
Yeah.
But, like, in totality as a basketball player, for everything he does, I mean, I sent it out as a non-LeBron season because I thought it was crystal clear.
If LeBron wanted to score 40 every night, he'd score 40 every game. Every game. He could score 40 in 82 games. If he didn't get hurt and didn't have foul trouble, I absolutely believe he could score 40 points in 82 games if he really wanted to. Like, that's how good he is. Bigger, stronger, faster than everybody else on the floor.
You don't think Donovan can, Jason?
No, I don't think he can.
And I think because Donovan's got to make his shot. He can't take the ball to the basket like LeBron.
I mean, he's good at getting to the rim, but
He's
not at
against-
LeBron's level.
But not like LeBron, no. He can't dominate physically like LeBron.
Is just brute strength.
Yeah.
It's just brute strength that gets him to his spots. And Donovan's more quickness. You can take some of that away at times. I mean, again, I don't want to make this sound like we're crapping all over Donovan because I'm not at all. He's
not crapping over Donovan.
Year.
He's just doesn't belong in the conversation with LeBron.
Well, it's like if we take LeBron's the best or the second best basketball player that's ever walked the face of the earth. So when you take him out of the equation, it changes everything. When you're comparing even someone who's having a great season to the greatest potentially ever.
Yeah,
it's
Donovan Mitchell's having a magnificent season, but let's see what he does in the playoffs, by the way. That's all that matters. The regular season doesn't mean crap. Nobody thinks highly of James Harden. Why? Puts up huge numbers every year. Doesn't do anything in the playoffs, so nobody thinks of him as an all-time great player.
And Donovan has had tremendous playoff experience.
Right, but he's never gone.
Awesome in the playoffs.
Has he even gotten to a conference final?
Not a conference final.
No.
But he did essentially single-handedly beat that. Now, that was the bubble.
Yeah.
A little different playoff scenario, but he...
Well, let's see him carry this team over a Boston or Milwaukee.
Yeah.
That's what LeBron would do.
That'll do it.
Yeah. If LeBron's on this team instead of Donovan Mitchell, they're the favorites to win the championship.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you all think best non-LeBron season ever, second best Cavaliers single season ever? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, not single best because LeBron.
I said second best.
No, well, I think there's like 8 LeBron seasons that I think you would take over Mitchell.
I mean, I think it's close. You know, Kyrie before LeBron had no talent around him. As much as I'm sick of Kyrie, I mean, Kyrie at his best and Donovan at his best? Who's better?
Donovan.
I'm taking Donovan.
Okay.
I take Donovan.
Donovan at his best and Mark Price at his best. It's so hard to compare
different,
that.
It's different positions. Like I've said this before, it's hard when you're a point guard. You have so many responsibilities. It's hard
Although
when
Kyrie never got assists like a point guard. Like
no,
a
but
true
it's
point guard.
but I know, but it's Chris Paul is sort of the exception.
Yeah.
But it's really hard. My belief, if your point guard is your best player, you're going to struggle.
It's tough.
You're not going to have a ton of success, like deep playoff runs, championships.
Isaiah Thomas, the last one,
Steph
right?
Curry.
Well, Steph Curry.
Yeah, and look at all the talent around Steph.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
he is their best player.